Hello and welcome. This is part 2 of Free or Fair Trade as promised. Now, one will say, is this what Kwame Nkrumah warned us many years ago? That indeed we have gotten our independence and the whites are out, but they will find a different way of coming back in to still govern or rule over us? Or genuinely, this EPA and plant breeders bill that is being flashed about, are these bills really to our benefit? Are these supranationals thinking deeply that, oh, let's go out there and help Ghana? And that's why they're bringing it, or they're thinking of their interest. In any case, what should we do? With me in the studio to discuss this is Edward Kariwa, who's Deputy General Secretary, General Agricultural Workers Union of the TUC. And then joining us on the phone later will be Patrick Opoku, Director of Multinational Trade of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. The Deputy Minister apologizes he's not able to join us today, so he's sent a representative who's equally good to join this discussion. My name is Nana Sakwao, and this is PM Express. Well, hello. Free or fair trade is the issue on the table, and as promised, that we will continue the discussion because it was quite lengthy, and today we're going to go in depth. Rather than just the nitty-gritty technical things, we'll go in depth, and I think Edward here has been educating me before the cameras even started rolling, so we can all share in the education, and later on, obviously, Patrick Opoku will also join us. But Edward, I want to go back and find out that, is this what maybe Kwame Nkrumah was talking about? Listen, these superpower nations may have left because of independence, but because of how we are blessed with resources, endowed with everything, they will find a way to come back to get their gold and everything from us. And today I want to add GMO and EPA all together, and I'm sure joining our Greek, you can understand, you can shed light on it. Is that what we are seeing, or this is different? They haven't come yet.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks to your viewers. I think every nation has got a founding father, and it's just not a founding father. Also means you lay down the ideological and philosophical foundation of the country. If you look around the world, you will see countries like China, the Chairman Mao. Then you see countries like India, you can see that Gandhi, and then you see even the US, you have the Abraham Lincolns and then Washington and all those people. In Ghana and Africa, Kwame Nkrumah actually is the father of modern Africa and modern Ghana, and he laid the ideology and the foundation for us. Kwame Nkrumah foresaw it, that it's not enough to have political power. The political power that Kwame Nkrumah was looking for is to allow you to determine the economic basis, your economic future, determine your policies and so on. So he put political power before economics, and that is to one precedes the other in order to allow the other one to come. Now, he saw that it wasn't enough to just have political power. You now need to ensure that you are not encroached upon again. And that's why Kwame Nkrumah did not even just stop as being a president, but he also tried to document and write and put it down for future leaders, his grandchildren, to still come and look at it. So Kwame Nkrumah said it all. If Ghana and Africa think of ever becoming developed and taking control of themselves, then we should go back and visit Kwame Nkrumah's ideology, visit Kwame Nkrumah's philosophy. Now, when you say this, people simply put it that, oh, you want them to apply what Kwame Nkrumah did exactly. No, that's what we call even Marxism, we say we have the new Marxists, those who have come after Marxists, and then they transformed or reformed Marxist ideology into to meet the context. In the same way, the liberals, we now have the neoliberals, and then Keynes himself, at that time, was considered as a Marxist because he wasn't a liberal, because his ideology or his proposition at the time, how to salvage capitalism, was seen by the extremists and the liberals as deviating from the reality. But he said, no, my aim is to save capitalism. If you don't do A, B, C, D, then capitalism will collapse. That is what Kwame Nkrumah left behind for us. Unfortunately, he's no more. We are supposed to pick from that. But we threw that away, and rather now seeking advice from those who actually, colonized us and drove away Kwame Nkrumah from his own country to die in another land. That is the most painful thing. That we have all, we don't need lessons from anybody. Unfortunately, again, despite our initial failure to recognize that these people are still wolves in sheep clothing, the neoliberal policies have failed. The economic crisis have collapsed. They cannot give us lectures anymore about how those policies, work or do not work, because we've seen it. It is a time for us to turn away from it. But the unfortunate thing, we've thrown that away, and then the EPA is now the last nail on the coffin.
Let's just finish us off. Joining us on the phone now is Patrick Opoku, who is the Director of Multinational Trade of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Patrick, you're welcome.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to apologize to all listeners for my inability to be at the studio.
Okay, okay.
It's circumstances beyond my control, and
the viewers are the viewers are forgiving you. But Patrick, I always want you to start with the EPA agreement. Does Ghana I want to start with the EPA agreement. And does Ghana truly believe that this is something that is going to benefit us, or is this something that will benefit the multinationals? Because I don't think there's an even ground here. For obvious reasons, there's no even ground. Do we think this is our way out, or this is our doom?
Well, thank you for the question and the opportunity to speak on this topic. And like any other policies, there are pros and cons. There are benefits as well as challenges. Okay, and for the EPA, if before you go into that, we come to ask, why do we have to go into an EPA? What brought about the whole concept of the EPA, the Economic Partnership Agreement? Rather, for the past, through the past Cotonou agreement with the EU, that ACP or African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, which include Ghana, they had what we call access to the EU market. Okay, that's preferential access to the EU market through what we call waivers.
Yeah.
Okay, and over the years, it became difficult for the EU to have that waivers, because some the waivers or the preference is supposed to be granted to all developing countries, but here we are, it's being given to only African, Caribbean, Pacific countries, which were former colonies of the EU. So some developing countries protested and began to speak against it. And it was difficult to continue that process because they were saying that it's illegal at the WTO. So then it means that procedure has to be streamlined. And the way that was found was the Economic Partnership Agreement. Because before the agreement, under the Cotonou or those regimes, Ghana, we were exported without reciprocating. That we had free access to the EU market for almost about 95% of our exports. They entered the EU duty-free, quota-free, but we collected duties from the imports coming from the EU. And the only way found out was the Economic Partnership Agreement at the WTO. So this, there was a deadline. The negotiations started way back in 2004, and there was a deadline of December 31st, 2007. And by that deadline, those who haven't signed the EPA, those East countries, they are going to lose their market access preferences, especially for some export. It means that some commodities that were entering the EU market are going to enter at a higher level of duty. And it meant that some of our commodities will not be able to compete with commodities from other developing countries, from the Latin American countries, from the Asian countries. We will not be able to compete. So based upon that, we have to enter into negotiations and then discuss with the EU how best to sign on for this, the way for to negotiate an agreement that will be of mutual benefit to both the EU and to Ghana.
Paul,
so in actual fact, it's that the background. That describes the background.
Very good.
Yes.
So if per the background that you've explained to us, so basically we are saying that just sign on to this so that the other countries won't complain. It's as if we have a mutual free port agreement.
Come again, please.
So, say, per what you have explained to us, this agreement is to stop the other countries who don't have the same advantage not to complain, as if that Okay, then in that case,
that's what the first. Let me chip in here. That was the first reason why.
Okay.
The second reason was that after over 25 years of having this access, we are not able to take full advantage of it, of the benefits, to improve, because the market access was given to us so that we take advantage of it, improve our competitiveness, and then export more to earn more revenue. But that wasn't happening. Okay, so it means there was something needs to be done to ginger us. So apart from the protests from the other countries, we need also to improve our production capacities to take advantage of the opportunities of this market access presented.
Patrick, one more question before I come to it. I mean, all we are exporting is raw materials. So how are we going to improve by exporting raw material? We chop the timber, we send it away. We dig the gold, we take the dirt away. How are we expecting to grow?
Yes, so the way to go forward was to add value to our products, you see. And by virtue of the nature of the tax structure of the European or developed partners, the more value add to the products, especially to certain products, the higher the duty you have to pay on them. So if you have this arrangement with them, that means we are not going to pay duty on those items that will enter. So it was also a way of gingering us to go into value addition. Yes, it's true that some of our products most of our products were primary products. But you know, from past years, the government have been efforts to add value to our production, to go into manufacturing. And even the current trade and industrial policies that are in place point to that direction, that you must add value to our products. You must improve the manufacturing sector. You must improve, you must not rely on only primary products, so that we become competitive on the international market. See, so the focus now, if you look at our trade policy and industrial policy, is to add value and improve their productive capacity so that we are able to compete.
Let me bring. Thank you. Let me bring. I'll bring Edward in here. I mean, for the past 25 years, we've been sending raw materials duty free, and now the focus is that we have to add value when the doors are literally about to close on us. What I'm saying is, at worst case scenario, why don't we do raw materials each way free of charge? Because our raw materials are going, and they will come back as finished goods for us to buy, at double price. So even if we are going to sign this EPA, why don't we say, okay, you two bring raw materials free, and we give you raw materials free? I mean,
well, if we are to go that way, then I don't think we're going to improve our economy, because no economy improved by being sold or depending solely on raw materials. You have to add value. You cannot not forever continue to be, excuse me, to use the term, be hewers of wood and drawers of water. We need to, if you continue to export only raw materials, what is happening is that, you see, you are giving jobs to those who are adding value outside.
Okay.
Because when you add value, it's virtually also creating employment.
Okay, Patrick, hold on for me, Ken. We've been doing that for the last probably maybe 30 years. I mean, maybe Achampong tried to resist a little bit. After Achampong, we've been hewing this wood and drawing this water up until today. And there are policies in pointing in this direction and pointing that direction, but nothing is moving. We don't even have the energy to even move it. I mean, with all intent and purposes, we don't even have electricity to set up a factory. You know, I mean, when I say factory, proper Valco-sized factories that bring economic changing production. We don't have the energy to even do it. So what's the way forward?
Well, before I even attempt a response to what you put across, in 1996, the European Union, that is by then the European Economic Commission or Community, did a study. And the study actually brought out that the African countries, or that is the ACP countries, has not over the years, or have not over the years, gained significant access of the EU market. Now, if the study was that, came out with such results, then the next question to ask is, why is it that they have not been able to increase their market access to the EU market? But that answer is provided in the reason why they came up with the Lomé Conventions. Because the reason why they tried to bring, they created the Lomé Convention was that in the 1970s, we all saw that there was some oil crisis. And then producers of oil in the world, which were mainly developing countries, came together to lower production. And that affected the European market, raised global prices. And because they demanded, they needed oil more than any other part of the world, you know, it affected their economy. So they sat down and said, no, we cannot allow developing countries to rally behind a primary commodity to destabilize our economy. So let's see how we are going to group them together and manage them. So they then moved in to have this, the Lomé Convention. So the reasons for the Lomé Convention, which was a partnership, an agreement between us, and which was based on preferential treatment, that is to say that we could access the EU market without duty, but we could place duty on their goods, was even fairly reasonable for our growth, because by then they had allowed us to determine our policies, which way we want to, even to the extent that they compensated for export losses. Like we have budgeted for the price of revenue from cocoa. Now price of cocoa in the world market drops. Now there's an automatic formula which compensates us for the revenue that we have lost as a result of the market price changes. And that's what they call the Starbucks. Now, looking at all these things, so it is not surprising, therefore, why, because all along during the Lomé Convention, they never did anything to assist Africa to improve upon their primary production base. You got it? Because we are in a partnership, so we remain so. So if they are saying that we have gained insignificant access to their market, and for that matter they must do this, fine. Then they are also claiming that our agreement by then was not WTO compliant. That particular study also came up with a number of options, not necessarily the one that they are now introducing to us. We can go into the EU market through four gates. One is duty-free, quota-free. And they are saying that the EPAs will provide that. Then you also have where you have everything but arms. And that one is preserved for only the least developed countries. And in ECOWAS sub-region, we have, apart from Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria, the rest are least developed countries. So they can export everything to EU, free, quota-free, duty-free, without, if it is not arms. Then we have the general systems preference, which, if you don't sign on to the EPAs, you can go under that. But that one has less favorable terms than the EPA. But it allows you to also place what? Tariffs on the imports. You raise tariffs on yours, like some of the items that were not attracting tariffs in their countries. they will raise tariffs on them, and then we too can also raise tariffs on their goods. That's another one. Then the third one is the Trade and Development Cooperation, which is only between EU and South Africa. EU and South Africa. And then the final one is that, well, you just go in there, and then all the tariffs are placed on you, you pay it, and then you have access to the market. So the whole agreement, as though if we don't go to the EPAs, there's no other option.
It's false.
It's false. It's false. And, you know, options also have their different challenges and cost. And we should be ready to take some of this cost. A cost that is a little higher, but yet will free you from this type of control. And this is what we need to be looking at. But what they have provided us today is that we should remain to produce producers of raw materials, because your raw materials will now go there without duty. So you are encouraged to do that. And that is what Patrick alluded to, and certainly that's a good point. Now, to your point, which you want to clarify whether we should allow things to be the way they are. No, certainly no. Trade relations are not moral issues. They are never moral issues. You must be ready to take challenges. And it is the way we also go before them. That is why they treat us the way they do. So, well, it's a choice, but there are certain choices that you must be allowed to make choices that affect you alone. But there are even some choices that you cannot even make them because they affect you alone. For instance, you can make a choice that you want to kill yourself. Not to talk about make a choice that I want to kill others. There are some choices you can make, the type of shirt you want to wear. Those ones, it's your own choice. So the choices that we are going to make today, we must be careful that they do not extend to people who are not part of this choice. And that is the future. The unfortunate thing is that we are going to make choices that entangles people in the future.
Let me, Patrick, I'm going to take a quick break, but when I come, the question I'm putting you to, when we signed this agreement and we're taking materials free of charge and everything, I mean, did our government really think this was for free, or there was a hook at the end of it? We'll come straight back. Stay tuned for me. Well, as I've been saying all week, that if you have and you can reach out, please do reach out. For just once in a year, those who are really, really less privileged, probably they are not even watching this program because they don't own a TV set. They just have to sleep in front of a store, in a kiosk, out in the open, sometimes with their children. And what Joy FM does is once in a year, we gather them all at the Sutherland Park, give them a warm meal, some clothes, get a medical team to check them. So if you're an individual or company who you can reach out, please do, so that call the office, the GOFM office, and whatever it is you have, rice, clothing, diapers, oil, that you can help towards this cause, do that. I think it will go a very long way. But the issue on the table today is it free trade or is it fair trade? And it's our dealings with multinationals. Patrick, have I still got you?
Hello?
Yeah, Patrick.
Yes, please.
Now, before we went on a break, I wanted to find out that, while we were enjoying that free one-way traffic where our goods were going in duty-free, did we not see a hook at the end of this line? Did we think, oh, they're just in love with us, they're just going to continue doing it? Or did we expect this to come?
Well, as a policy, that gesture, it came about from UNCTAD, it generated from United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. You see, that the whole concept about the preferences. See, and from UNCTAD and into the World Trade Organization, that there was this recognition that all nations are not at the same stage of development. Some are advanced in development than others. So there was this recognition that yes, all must not be treated equally. The developing countries, or they must be held because it's a global world. If somebody is poor, obviously you cannot trade with him. He cannot buy from you. You see, so there was this concept. The whole concept was to help developing countries to also integrate into the country, to be able to sell, to have some revenue, and also to buy. So it's a two-way affair. You see, it was to be a mutual benefit, so it wasn't just a one way as such. And I would say that the partnership was also beneficial because if you look at it, we were able to send the raw materials which they processed, okay? And we also had some benefit of being able to having that market access. So to me, it's a mutual benefit. But though some people might say it's skewed, it didn't help us much. Because as time went on...
Patrick, how long has this agreement been going on?
Which of the agreement are you talking about?
After the Cotonou agreement, where we were sending our goods to the EU tax-free.
That's after 2007, when the EPA took effect.
After 2007?
Yes, after December.
Between 2007 and now, we export about 95% of our export is raw material. What percentage have we added value to?
What percent have we added value? So that's the crux of the matter. Because from that time on, the onus lies on us as a country. Okay? Because it's this general to go for it, to go ahead, to restructure our production system to be more competitive. As I said, no country, including the advanced countries, developed or advanced by relying on primary products. So there's a need now for us to go into value addition, add value to our
Patrick,
process.
we have been aware of this need.
The government, what I'm saying is that the government has recognized that. That's why you have in place even new trade policies, you have new industrial policies, which give recognition to this, and some of these issues are being addressed.
Patrick, when you say the government, which government?
When I say the government in general, successive government over the years, I'm talking from the period you're talking about, from the 2007
till now.
And even successive governments, even right from Nkrumah, it was this recognition that you must add value. That's why Nkrumah even started with this import substitution industry idea.
Okay. I'm just trying to lead to the fact that have we even made paper out of the sawdust of the trees we are chopping? Have we made plywood out of the wood we are chopping? I'm just trying to lead because we've known it for a long time. Yes, there's some value addition going on. Okay.
I admit that there's value addition going on in this country because it's not every product that we export in the raw form.
95%.
We are processing tuna, we are processing aluminum products, we are processing also adding value to some of our canned fruits and vegetables and so on and so forth.
But are these things the same multinationals who are there processing their things? No.
Pardon me?
Are these things not for the same multinationals who are there here processing their stuff?
Well, if there are multinationals who are processing it, yes, but at least this expectation, that's why of transfer of the technology and so on and so forth. That's why even if you look at government policies, there's this local content and so on and so forth, that there should be this transfer of technology know-how to Ghanaian indigenous people who who apply it in cities, not now, in future. So I admit that yes, there's some form of value addition, but it needs to be increased. If you want to improve, to go ahead further, to improve the economy, we need to increase the pace of value addition. That's why when I say that now, previously there was no explicit policy, industrial trade policy to do this. But now, if you go to industrial policy, you have industrial sector support policies or programs to support these policies, to implement them. You see, and it will take some time.
I'm happy you said implement, because policy and implementation in this country seem to be rivals. We have a lot of policies, but no implementation. But I'm going to come to Edward. Edward, I want to find out. This EPA agreement has been looming since 2000. It's not today's issue. Since the year 2000, so that's like 14 years ago. Now, the content of this policy, today. Is this still relevant? Or, I mean,
well, if you look at the EPAs, that is the Cotonou Partnership Agreement, from the onset was meant to, it appeared to have some laudable objectives. And it said that it wanted to create a free trade agreement between EU and then the ACP countries, and for that matter, ECOWAS. Now, the aim of it is also to speed up development in the ECOWAS sub-region. One of them is also to reduce poverty, and then above all, also promote regional integration. Now, since then, if you look at what it did, one, in the rest of the ACP countries, they've been fragmented. It's only West Africa which is lucky to still have all the community members belonging to the group to negotiate with the EU. If you go to SADC, if you go to COMESA, all that, they've fragmented the countries and put them even in other regions just for the purpose of it. So it violated that integration itself. And then he's talking about poverty reduction. To what extent has poverty reduced in this country, and for that matter in West Africa? So it has some, it has these objectives, but the objectives are failing because, one, we did not also, we then needed to negotiate. And by 2000, we started the negotiations. I mean, 2002, we started the negotiations at the ACP, that is African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries level. Then by 2004, it was then broken down into 6 zones for the purpose of the negotiations. And since then, we've been negotiating. Why? Because what they want to put there, we do not agree to that. One, you have to determine which goods should be exempted from duty and which goods should not be exempted from duty. The exemption list, it was on and off. That is why we've gotten to where we are. And we, from the onset, that's a civil society and other meaningful Ghanaians in West Africa, think that we need a trade relationship with the EU, but we do not need the one that they are advocating for. For instance, when we're having the entry EPA, the market access was 80%, Ghana alone, and then ECOWAS level, when ECOWAS level, they now brought it to what? 75%. Now, the question you ask yourself is this: if without this arrangement, we have 70%, at least 70% of rice imports into this country. Poultry is over 70%. And there are some goods in this country which are all having 100% imports into this country. What will then happen to our industries? So the way ECOWAS countries want to go, and probably our negotiators and leaders want to go, is that as if there's no option. We are saying, please don't go under the EPA. Go under another arrangement whereby even our exports to their markets will attract tariffs. But we to reserve the right to put tariffs on their imports. You see, and why it is critically important for us is that because we are a developing country, and at this stage of our development, tax revenue is critical. Because if 70% of rice will enter into this country, for instance, let's assume that the 70% of rice that enters into this country comes from the EU, and it is not to be taxed, it means we will lose that revenue. So let us also reserve the right to also place our taxes on it. Again, they are saying that it must be WTO compliant. Yes, we have tax limits that we can raise our taxes to. We are cognizant of that. So we'll continue to raise our tariffs until we reach our limit. Or if we don't want to reach our limit, we can stop any way we want. But what the EPAs are trying to do to us is that they are putting us in a jacket that you cannot choose on your own to place tariffs on this particular good because you have already said that this good will come from the EU tariff-free.
So you can't change your mind?
You can't change your mind. You can't change your mind. So it's not as though you can wake up at any day and say that, okay, the 25% I'm talking about, or your 75% I'm talking about, this particular good, which was hitherto enjoying tariff-free into this country, I am now going to put tariffs on.
So if we boost Aveime rice, and Aveime now is supplying enough rice for Ghana, we can't come and say, listen, now we are okay with rice, so we're going to tax your rice. They said, no, we'll still have to bring us...
Yeah, we can no longer do that. We can't do that. But we are saying that there are other options. The other options are simply saying that they will tax the tariff, there will still be tariff on our exports. We should be ready to go that length.
But we are sending in raw materials, and they seem to need our raw materials. So I don't know if I think we can call a bluff here. I don't know, but I want to take a break. When I come back, I want to find out the size of the EU when this agreement was there in 2000 and the size of the EU now, to find out if we're still playing ball. Stay tuned. Well, just before we went on the break, I just wanted to find out from my experts that this deal came into being somewhere around 2000. By then, I don't know how many ACP countries there were and how many European countries, EU countries there were. Is it still relevant today? Patrick?
Yes.
I just want to find out how many EU countries we have today as compared to 2000 when this address came into being. So what are we opening our ports to? And indeed, the new countries that have come on board, do they have any need for a majority of the things that we want to export?
Yes, I think on the ACP side, I think there's only one more country, that's South Sudan.
So that's just one country breaking up?
That acceded to the group, that's South Sudan.
Okay.
They came on board to join the ACP country, make 79. And with the EU, I think just a few more of them. So it's so relevant. It's not as if there's a mass.
But you see, the thing is,
to make it more to overwhelm. But it's so just about the same, because from 2000. No, I think when we start 2000, that's 2000. That's effective 2004. So now there hasn't been that increase in the membership to overwhelmingly change things.
Patrick, but these are a few more countries that can dump things on your shore, and you don't have any market there to access.
I think so. So we have a market there because I don't know anywhere in this world where our raw material is not in demand. The raw material, as we say, is in demand. So like we said, we have a leverage there. But the important thing is for us to add value.
Patrick, we have a limited amount of raw materials. And so we can't go accessing more countries because we want to dig out more raw materials. So we are limited in that expense and we cannot between today and tomorrow add value to them. However, while we are deliberating on all these things, these new countries will be dumping things on your shore, absolutely annihilating your industry.
Well, I think, to my mind, I think the more partners you have, I think the more your options are. So I don't think it takes away anything.
What options? We can't. No, we cannot make industry. So what options do we have? We can't make any industry.
You cannot make, but you still have that potential which hasn't been exploited.
And that is?
You see, that's what I was saying, that we still have that potential to produce. The fact that we have only raw material doesn't mean we cannot add value to it. That's the point, the crux of the matter I'm making.
Okay, maybe I haven't made myself clear. Once we go ahead to sign EPA, and now goods come in duty-free, if you produce the same good here, and it's 3 times the cost, even a free man won't buy it, and he's very Ghanaian, because maybe it's not that he doesn't want to buy it, but he hasn't even got that much money to afford it. And so local industries will collapse.
Yes, this is one of the challenges that when we enter into the EPA, that will be facing. Because when I started, I said there are challenges that we need to overcome.
But won't this send us back into slavery?
The challenge that the domestic industry and factories, they are going to face competition. There's no against saying that. Of course, they're going to face competition.
I mean, I don't know if competition is the right word. They won't be able to compete. Because even now...
compete is still about competition.
Okay, Patrick, even now, there are goods that come into this country with duties placed on them, and they still work out cheaper than the ones we produce here. So can you imagine goods coming duty-free?
That's why I'm saying the EPAs, that's why it's not immediate, it's not starting just like tomorrow. There are time frame or what you call moratorium. Okay? And within that period, we are to make all things as much as possible to restructure our economy and our product. That's why from the beginning I said we need to restructure the economy, our productive processes. But these days, all over the world, it's about competition. That's why the last time the Asians were able to do. The thing to do is how to strategize.
Patrick, it takes.
The EPS is a gradual opening.
Okay, but
it's
Patrick,
not like opening 100% in one day.
Okay, Patrick,
so
it
we
will
have
take.
to put in place the right policy mix. We have to try to put in place policies and then support programs to encourage and to support our industries to shore them up.
Patrick,
so that they can compete. Because if you say they are not going to compete, we shut off totally. Then there's no way you're going to be able to integrate into the world. Then you're forever going to remain.
Patrick, let me come in here. Patrick, let me come in here. It will take the best of intention 20 years to turn any country around. The best of intentions. Is EPA going to wait 20 years? That's number one. Number two, there's the general strategic preference system that we can use, where they tax our goods and we tax their goods. So, I mean, it's not as if you don't go to EPA, that's the end. You know, there's still the trade and development agreement. Okay, well, that's for South Africa. But, you know, there's the access with imports, duties. So, there are other ways by which we can access the European market. Why EPA?
Yeah, there are other ways, but there are more. It depends on the analysis that you make. Some of them are more costly than the others.
But those are the ones that will give your industries to grow.
Like my friend Edward explained, we have the standard preference, that's standard general preferences.
But those are the ones that will help.
I think he explained that the rates, the import duties that's going to pay is much higher. Okay, so assuming you produce, let's say you put in place policies to encourage our to improve our productive capacities, and then now you're going to export on a higher rate, or you can choose to another level, another regime by which we can export at a lower rate. Obviously, any same person will choose to export under a lower rate than the higher rate.
Okay, let me come to it. You see, anytime we talk about production, we never hear that let's produce to use. Why should we produce by all means to export? What's wrong with us producing and using?
Well, that's why sometimes we certain things, when you do them and you are not properly grounded, you lose. You see, the EPAs require that you have a well-developed trade policy and industrial policy, so that you now use that to gauge and see whether the EPA will help you to achieve your goals under your trade policy or your industrial policy. The time we had gone into negotiating these EPAs, most countries did not have trade and industrial policies, including Ghana. We have something now which we are trying to work with, but we do not have that. That is one thing. Now, when you talk about, you know, this country probably had, they have focused, Ghana has focused on export-led development instead of import substitution development. Export-led development, when we produce, we are targeting the international market. We produce for the international market. We don't produce for ourselves. And cocoa is one of them. Over the years, many people do not consume cocoa in Ghana because they were not in the equation. They were not the target. So all production of cocoa was for outside because it is the beans that you export. So you produce, you have the cocoa seedlings and all those sort of things. You produce for the external market. But when we started producing chocolate also here, and we do not even target the local market and target exports, very few people can take chocolate. But you can see that many Ghanaians are now hooking on to chocolate because they are doing that. So we have lost that, and that is the pattern of our development trajectory. Unfortunately, again, we have abandoned the import substitution development. But when the president read his State of the Nation address, he brought back that this is what we want to do. We will produce what we have to consume from Ghana. We will produce it here to create the jobs. But EPA is saying that, no, when you sign on to it, please bring your goods to us, cheaper raw materials, and we will bring you the finished goods. So when you even produce here and they bring the finished goods, their finished goods will be far cheaper than yours. Therefore, it will kill your local industry. So it is going to foreclose that vision that even our president has for this country, which many Ghanaians
to bid for local tender too.
To allow for. Now, let me state that the EPA trying to be WTO compliant.
Round it up for me in 30 seconds.
Yeah, is good for us. But this EPA is WTO plus. It is beyond what WTO is requiring. The Singapore issues, which have to do with government procurement, investment, services, developing countries have rejected that at WTO. EU is a strong member of WTO. You come back here, you say we should include that in your EPA so that when we are going to have procurement, like we want to use the budget to support local printers, to print books for our schools. If we sign this EPA, EU say, hey, hold it.
They can come and bid too.
Because you have to bring our companies to also come and bid.
Thank you very much, but that's how sorry this agreement is. We need to go back and find other ways of entering the EU market without opening our borders. But tomorrow I am talking to Mrs. Last, the proprietor of St. Martin de Porres School, to find her story. Indeed, we're just trying to find all these gallant women who set up all these beautiful preparatory schools, which save thousands and thousands and thousands of people for Ghana. Their contribution has been phenomenal, and her story is beautiful. So tune in tomorrow and definitely follow Personality Profile. Again, if you are an anti-GMO person, there's a demonstration from Kwame Nkrumah Circle to Art Center tomorrow. Join in, otherwise, you know what? We'll be serving and eating things that we don't want to eat. My name is Nana Sakwao, and as I say, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again.